Greetings, this is Starseed Scotty sharing an astrological weekly horoscope for May the 6th to the 13th of 2019. Thank you for joining me so we can look at the energies for the week ahead. The screen share. So, the first thing that I just noticed right now is that Mercury has entered Taurus. And this is quite significant because you see, first of all, just enlarge this. There we go. So yeah, Mercury is in conjunction here with Uranus, and that's gonna highlight what Uranus and Taurus is gonna mean for us for the next 7 to 9 years. So for the next few days, it's definitely a good idea to pay attention to our thought patterns, what arises in terms of if there's any evolutionary. Uranus is about evolution, it's about liberation, it's about innovation. They say it's the growing tip on the tree of life. And so Mercury is our mind, and so I think we might be surprised by things that come out of nowhere, because Uranus also is like this lightning bolt that strikes. It's about sudden changes, more than other planets like Saturn and Pluto that are more gradual changes. Yeah, so I don't see too many aspects with Mercury. But actually here we have the Sun. Probably good to start with the Sun, 16 degrees Taurus. We had the new moon a couple of days ago. And this Sun is going to be trining Saturn. It's 4 degrees away, so the next 4 days it's going to be getting closer. And this is an Earth trine, so this is really good for whatever earthly practices we have with that Taurus energy. The Sun illuminating, it's giving light, just like our sun in the sky shines light to the plant, for the plants to grow and for us to grow. And Saturn retrograde right here with the South Node. That's, our structures. The South Node, I think it's about what structures do we want to release that are holding us back, things that are that maybe we're just addicted to certain patterns. With Saturn, we can maybe just have us have we need boundaries, for many things. But if we have too many boundaries, then we get restricted and we get pent up. And I notice this a lot. I'm very, very big on the Uranus energy because it shakes things up. It brings a freshness, a newness, and sometimes change is a little disturbing because there's something about human nature that we are quite often afraid of change, because we like to feel safe. We like to feel things to say even keel. But that's kind of what the Sun Saturn trine could be about, because that's Taurus and Capricorn, very much about stability. And with the sextile that Sun will be making to the North Node, I think North Node in Cancer, I think the more stability we bring into our lives, just with practical things, going out in nature, eating healthy foods, making routines, earthly things. The more we can just be balanced and fulfilled in our earthly level, it will help us in our destiny of emotional sensitivity, being guided by our intuition. Because the North Node will be trining Neptune, probably for some time. So 1 degree apart now. So definitely the more sensitive we are just in the unconscious, just the instinctive ways, then that can help us with that spiritual connection of Neptune. The moon is in Gemini. Right now it's at 13 degrees, so it's been squaring Neptune. It's approaching Mars in Gemini, which is at 24. And the big aspect that we have right now is this line here is the opposition of Mars to Jupiter retrograde. Good way I heard about this aspect is Mars in Gemini is like gathering facts. Facts about our drive, like things, the decisions we make for our ego, because Mars really is about our ego, our sense of survival, our sense of how we just go out into the world and achieve things. That's been contrasted by Jupiter, which is asking us to go inside to find out what our beliefs are. So if Mars Gemini is about the facts that we're gathering, the information, Jupiter is, I think, asking us to balance that out with the vision we have. Because knowledge alone, they say knowledge is power, but I would actually say wisdom is even more powerful, because we can learn anything, especially with the internet, and we have all the information on the earth available. It's very important to balance that out with what are we learning for? What is the goal of the learning? Because it's very easy to be just to be in information overload. But for me, I'm always, certain themes I always like ask myself in terms of my beliefs and my visions are, is what I'm listening to in podcasts or YouTube videos or articles, is there a spiritual message? Is there a moral? So that's Jupiter, which is religion. But the religion can be different than a dogmatic religion. It can be a sense of spirituality where we're learning the higher laws. One person said, instead of law, L-A-W, he says this lore, which is lore, which is an old word for storytelling. And that was a guy called George Vasilis. He's a very cool spiritual teacher. And it's like, we have laws in this world which are, very functional, like, against crime and just practical laws. But to me, morals are different because they're more like codes of conduct. And there's many debates of, a big one in America is should firearms be illegal for the everyday person? And there's just a lot of debate in terms of, should there be control? Should there be more control or less control? That's the basic. Mars and Gemini is quite, say, somewhat controlling, so it wants just to know. But I think Jupiter retrograde, still squaring Neptune, is really, asking us to find that bigger purpose for the information, for the knowledge that we're gathering. So go to the next day. I'm gonna have to get out this. All right. Yeah. So on May the 7th, the moon will be conjoining Mars. So that's going to be definitely, we'll be feeling into this opposition much more. And let's see, the moon here will be sextiling Venus, which will give a whole dynamic of the knowledge that we're gathering. How does that apply to our relationship to ourselves? And Venus making a big aspect is a T-square to Saturn and the North Node, which is, yeah, going to amplify that even more. I think Venus being our inner relationship, and Aries, it's like our independence of self, how we relate our individuality to our relationships. And with Saturn is what is our responsibilities? How do we balance our sense of self with our need to diffuse ourself with our collective consensus, like in our jobs, in our friendships, and our family? Where's the line between standing up for our authenticity, our individuality, and compromising for others? Because that's kind of the polarity of Aries being Libra. Libra is all about compromising. But if we compromise too much, then I think we lose that soul self, that unique spark. Venus and Aries, which I have natally, very close to this, it's given me a real tenacity to stand up at all times for the uniqueness of my inner nature. And I've learned Aries can be a little aggressive and a little feisty, and that can be good if it's used in a passionate way. I always say I turn pain into passion, or anger into passion. The energy of passion is very high vibrational, and we can use the angst and all of the intensities that the South Node Saturn's bringing in a way that we are kind of exploring how this unique identity called ourself is like a piece in the puzzle of this game, in Saturn's game. Saturn really is the game master, if you could call that in life. And then the square to the North Node, I think, is if we're too stubborn with our identity of like how we believe we are, then we can maybe close off our emotions. But if we're passionate and playful, which is a very good part of Aries, then I think we can have that sense of self with sensitivity for our own needs and then others' needs. And I think the moon will highlight that. Will bring up a lot of questionings of, and with Mars there, what is the distinction between our willpower and our emotions, with how we discern the right decisions to make in our daily lives. And Mars and the moon, I think a lot of that is about just going by our instincts. And Aries relates to Mars as well, with Venus. So yeah, that's kind of a cool, because Venus and Mars are like counterparts, the divine masculine, feminine. So this day is going to ask us to balance out. Sextiles are positive aspects; they're supporting each other. So I think that's going to be nice for us to look at new ways of processing our information to develop our sense of self. And then when we become self-centered in a healthy way, then we can not be so selfish or narcissistic, but instead be soul-centered. Which say, it's being selfless and selfish at the same time, in a balanced way. I think that's a big theme of this. So if we can care for ourselves and have a healthy self-love, which Venus really is resonating to, then we're much more benefit to everyone else. But if we're selfless, completely selfless, then it's very easy just to become like a victim or a martyr, and that can be the Pisces archetype. that's squaring Jupiter. Sun is sextiling Neptune. So whatever we're doing, a practical way of Taurus, nourishing ourselves, or just enjoying the find nice foods and drinks, and just simple daily activities can help us connect to that spiritual level. Like I say all the time, when I go in nature, it's a practical, physical thing, but the energy of nature allows me to connect to my spiritual higher self. So yeah, Mercury is approaching Uranus too, so there's going to be probably going to be some surprising thoughts and surprising ideas that surface. Uranus is a curveball. Uranus is all about just mixing things up. So that'll be very interesting to see. So moving on to May the 8th. Moon will then be in Cancer. Approaching the North Node. Let's see. Mercury will have passed Uranus. So this is the day just to really tune into what Uranus could mean for us through our thoughts. With the moon, it's going to be sextiling Mercury. So yeah, that will allow us to tune into our emotional, because the moon rules Cancer. So I think the new innovations that Uranus and Mercury will reveal, I think will help us emotionally connect to this whatever could inspire us. So I find when I'm really grounded with Taurus energy, I can open up my feelings more, because there's more safety, there's security, and just allows an expansion of the emotional body. Venus will be moving on to square Pluto, and still square the North Node. It's 22, Pluto's at 23. So I think this is going to be a little more intense than the square to Saturn. Venus-Pluto aspects often resonate to the myth of Persephone, and which is I don't know the full story, but it's something to do with, in historical times, there was a queen and her, like some kind of royalty, and sort of series as well. And well, I won't just no, I could probably bring it up, but I won't recount the story because I don't have all the, I can't remember it completely. But Venus-Pluto square, I think it's going to challenge us to of what is our development of that unique soul self inside of us. How is that exploration aiding in our evolution? If we're actively seeking to grow and be creative, to express and explore our inner nature, then Pluto, I think, square will be softened. And Capricorn is always looking for achievements and status, and like working up the ranks, and in businesses, if the more you work at a place, the more rewards you will receive. And just on a symbolic level as well, the more spiritual investment we put into ourselves, the more that opportunities will attract to us. So I think this will show the spiritual work that we've done. And if we haven't done much work, then I think we'll some certain experiences might attract. Sometimes it's often other people who come up as um, who are clashing. You know, they could be like a boss or a feud with a friend, somebody triggering a part of us, that a shadow in us. That's a very, very common thing. So yeah, that might be a challenge for sure. But I think with the North Node, no matter what happens, because quite often we can never expect the unknown is really a big motto, especially if you're honest. I think if we are always in touch with our feelings, and when there's an uncomfortable situation, just to always have that space to be open to feel into, not trying to like be right or have the answer, but just to have an awareness to be compassionate, because North Node trining Neptune's a psychic opening portal that can allow our general everyday feelings to tune into the collective unconscious feelings. So, for example, when I'm working, I'll just feel into the energies in a psionic way of everyone I'm around with, and then I'll be working on feeling into the. It's like a frequency. I don't see it, but I perceive it in terms of, if there's positive energy where people are in balance and harmony with their emotions, there's a lightness, and there's like a sense of a flowing, just like a river, and it's light. It's like it feels pleasant, and there's always movement. But when there's negativity or pressure or stress or things that are being blocked by either repressed emotions or aggressive emotions, then I'll feel a heaviness and a clenching in the energy fields of people. So usually what I do is just hold space, which is just to focus on the center of my being, which is the heart chakra. And not an important distinction here with this square is to not try and force, because Pluto can really have this shadow side of aggression, because some of the rulerships of Pluto is like crime and dark sorcery, black magic, which probably won't come in our daily life, but there can be the equivalent of that, which could be just angry people or circumstances that put pressure by the unknown forces. So the key concept I'm all about is just to have an opening of the feeling space, an awareness of the feeling space, without necessarily forcing change. It's whenever, because if I'm in that space, then I can respond instead of reacting. If I'm reacting, that's when anger can come out, that's when fear can come up. But it's like, if you prepare for something, I don't know why this comes to me, but if you're playing a game like volleyball or something like with soccer, and you're expecting the ball to come to you, then you can anticipate and respond to that by catching it. But if you're playing a game and you're distracted on your phone or something like that, and someone's throwing the ball to you, they could hit you because you're not anticipating it. And that's kind of, in an energetic sense, what can often happen. If we're not prepared, then when a situation comes up, we can really be vulnerable, and that's the shadow of Cancer. But vulnerability, I think there's a beauty to it, because the distinction of vulnerability to me is not necessarily victimhood, because that's what most people think, or weakness, but I think it's a softening of our ego, like armor or defenses. Because if we're battle ready, or just anxious over what externally people do, or even anxious about our own inadequacies, then we're always going to be on guard, and there will always be this protection, and that protection sometimes is necessary, but if it's there all the time, then it closes. I notice the energy of the emotions and feelings are closed down. But when we're vulnerable, it's just, to me, a way of being open without having an expectation. And that's why, so when I focus on my heart center, it's a nice practice, because it takes me out of my mind, the left brain mind, which I notice is very analytical and probing. So when people come into my field, if I'm looking through my mind, third eye, well, first of all, I can see a whole lot of things that they're attachments and toxins and things that might not necessarily be my responsibility to interfere with. So when I'm in the heart, it's neutral, because it's in the middle, and the heart is that center of our feelings. So with this moon in Cancer, it's definitely good practice to feel into. Music's really good thing. When I listen to music, that can open up the feelings and take us out of our mind. The Mars opposite Jupiter is the axis of the mind. The lower mind is Mars, Gemini, then the higher mind is Jupiter, Sag. The Sun will be trining, getting closer to trine to Saturn. So that Earth, yeah, it's nice. This is a nice combination of elements. We got Earth, we got nice fire with Venus, the water of Cancer, and the air. So yeah, I think this is gonna be, this is a nice day to explore, see what opportunities come up. All right, so the 9th. So the moon will be crossing over the North Node. Which really opens up the door to our destiny, so our feelings, our sensitivities, nurturing. It's another, what we want, what do we care about? It's going to be quincunxing Jupiter, so the things that we care for and that we feel into, it's important that there's a meaning to what we do. Not that everything needs to have a meaning. Sometimes when we're spontaneous and unconditional to serve and help others, we don't need to have a motive. But in the grand scheme of things, if there is a purpose, then I think it brings up more of our passion and more of our drive to follow our hearts. And one example for me is I became vegetarian 15 years ago after watching videos of the factory farms and the cruelty to animals, and just watching that one video changed my whole life. That was like the vision from Jupiter of the ideology of that type of farming. But I'm at the stage now where I've become so sensitive. Well, first of all, I'm not not at the stage where I'm going to be judgmental of that, because I've discerned through this Mars Gemini my own path with my own choices. But I think with Jupiter, the wisdom is where we accept that there's many different paths. The Sun will also be quincunxing this, so that's interesting. That will making a finger of fate. So the Sun in Taurus, sextiling North Node, grounding ourselves to become emotionally sensitive can help us adjust to find the higher meaning in our everyday actions. Mercury will have passed 6 degrees past Uranus and many other aspects there. Venus still squaring Pluto, exact square today to Pluto. So this is going to be a week, theme of the week, this relationship to ourself and how it affects our call to sensitivity, North Node, and things in our past, old relationship ties, responsibilities, that we will see how our ego with Venus and Aries is being triggered, or if we're being tested. And if we see those for what they are, then we can make the choice to develop ourselves differently, express ourselves differently, or stand true to who we feel our inner nature is. So on the 10th, Moon will have entered Leo. So I'll be bringing out of that emotional energy, like deep emotions. It'll be raised up to the heart energy, to more playful energy. I have the Moon in Leo natally, so I know quite a lot about this energy. And Moon in Leo likes attention. It likes to be loved. It likes to see the life as a stage and to act. But it'll be squaring Uranus and Mercury this day. So this is a challenge. And I think it's a question of is our self-expression serving a greater good, or is it merely an attachment of our own expectations and desires? And it's important that we express ourselves and be spontaneous about it. But I think the square of Taurus with Leo, Taurus is a very independent sign, and Leo is as well, but Leo wants to expand outwards because it's ruled by the sun, so it's about shining to others, whereas Taurus is about going inside and developing in more independent. So I think that can be reconciled when we shine out and express ourselves, but at the same time, yeah, just balancing that out with enlightened self-interest. With our mind, Taurus, Mercury. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this one. Yeah, I think with Uranus, Taurus, that's going to bring out something unexpected. I think we might see. Yeah, that's going to be. I'm not too sure what else. Definitely, there's going to be something unexpected. to do with our self-expression and our inner needs. So I think if it might show us where we need to develop ourselves. Our own self-care, because Taurus is much more about taking care of ourselves and so I think the more that we take care of ourselves, the better we can shine and share ourselves to others. It's a common theme with Venus and Aries as well. Yeah. All right, so on the 11th, the moon will still be progressing through Leo. And it'll be squaring the sun on this day. So it'll be eliminating much more directly in our consciousness, because the sun is kind of a direct awareness of ourselves. It'll be revealing what this square yesterday to Mercury Uranus. It'll just be taking it to a different level. There's some quincunxes here. Interesting. Let's see. So yeah, I see a couple finger of fates. We've got Moon here, Leo. You've got Neptune, Pisces, and Pluto, Saturn. So yeah, sextile of Neptune to Pluto, Saturn is earth and water. Doing our physical work here on earth, our discipline, our transformation will automatically aid our connection to our spirituality, our higher self. And that will help us adjust the needs of our inner needs, our inner desires. Because the Moon Leo really is the things that we feel just inner desires. And Leo likes to express those, just to share it. With other signs like Taurus kind of keeps it to itself and rather be independent. Aries is with Venus is kind of, which is actually trining this as well. So that's adding, actually that's a fire trine, yeah. So this fire trine is good. Allow us to bring out some more creative energy to this finger of fate. With Aries is like a kind of instinctive, just a spark of expression, maybe not so much maybe forethought. The Leo moon, there's almost because of the moon there and Leo's the heart, there's this emotional fulfillment when we can share ourselves and express the uniqueness, because Leo is that real archetype of our uniqueness. So I think that finger fate is, those other planets are very transcendental, transformational, but the Leo moon is very, very personal. So I think that's pointing to the need for us to have a higher purpose. Because if we're just expressing ourselves, our needs, our desires that come up just on a whim without any consideration to the bigger picture, which is Jupiter, then it's very easy just to be carried away and have kind of repeating themes of like our inner child needs, which is important, but if it's just the same thing that's repeating, then we don't really have, there's a missing maturity, because Saturn and Pluto wants us to mature, to have a sense of honor, and I think that's what this aspect's about. Yeah. Yeah, so have the other finger fate too. We talked about that with yeah. So this is a really nice fire trine. So I think this is going to bring a lot of energy to the surface, so that's T square Venus to the nodes is reconciled. Yeah, the moon will be pumping energy through to Venus and Jupiter. This is a good day for sure. Yeah, to really just any triggers, any things that's coming up that is um, repeating or mysterious, then we can just let that. The great thing about fire energy is that it can just allow things just to manifest, and we can kind of ride the wave, so to speak, in a creative way. Okay, all right, there we go. So in 12th, the moon will have entered Virgo. Bring in that expressive, passionate Leo energy down to a level of more practical service. When Virgo wants to serve, wants to use its feelings to help others, which I think is a great trait. And I'll be making a trine to Uranus. So how can we serve differently? How can we use our analytical powers creatively? I think Uranus will definitely bring some new, because that's the Earth trine. Virgo's Earth, Taurus is Earth. Then later on, the moon will be trining Mercury. So how can we think differently to the ways that we're serving, the ways that we're processing the daily activities? The quincunx in Chiron. So I think call to healing our emotions. I always find that when I'm serving by just helping others, be it at work or just being a supportive friend, I always feel this healing opening by having an unconditional care for others. And just the same, if we are too detached, which Virgo can be, his analytical powers, by just trying to figure out everything, that could block our compassion, which would bring up some wounding that may be around. So yeah, Venus is past that square. So I think that square is starting to break up, the T square of Venus to Saturn, Pluto. Mars is approaching the end of its transit in Gemini, entering Cancer probably in the next day, which we can find out. Yeah, I don't see many other aspects. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. So it's the last day I'll do. So well, Mars is still 28. Moon will be 20 Virgo. So this will be making a grand Earth trine. Like earlier in the week, we had the grand fire trine. This is an Earth trine. So very practical, it's an energy that allows us to balance our emotions with our body. It's really good for any physical things, take a nice pampering yourself, bath, salts, do that, or going really nice place in nature, really good. But trying to the Saturn Pluto that's that heavy south node, intense energy that's we've been really experiencing the last few months now. So I think Lunar Virgo can help us make decisions to how we feel to these pressures. And then trying to Taurus can allow us to take more care of ourselves, just to take liberty to indulge a little bit, and pamper is a good word, because when our physical body is vibrating at high level by just the care and by using really good products, like example with skincare products, I think it's very important to use only organic, because chemicals are, most of the chemicals that are not organic based have been proven to have many toxic effects. So we just make those choices with the discerning nature of Virgo to have the healthiest choices within our range. Then that can allow our body to become really sensually pleasant, and then that will allow us to become more disciplined, because if the body's healthier, then our minds will become healthier, because Mercury is still in Taurus as well. And then when our body, mind, and emotions are all in harmony, then that, I've noticed, that opens up this other portal. The Trinity is a universal symbol of, in different traditions, they have different, like in the Christian system, there's the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I would actually say it's the Father, Mother, and Holy Spirit. And in ourself, it's the yin yang, the feminine, masculine. And then there's this third thing, which you could call spirit or soul. Soul is more the feminine, physical form of the embodiment, and then spirit is the more masculine, celestial, energetic form. But those can all be considered part of that Trinity, because it's our higher self. It's when all of the experiences we have come together, and instead of forcing things, we can just receive abundance. And I think that's a big thing of these earth energies, which are generally more feminine. Taurus is Venus ruled, which is feminine. Virgo has a Gemini element, but it's also has a strong connection to Vesta, which is a feminine goddess or asteroid. And Saturn, Pluto which are in Capricorn now. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, but it has I definitely feel a lot of feminine, even though it's been a patriarchal symbol with Saturn for millennia. I think originally there was a sense of a matriarchal, because a lot of societies in the past where women had a lot more power, and they were the head of the household, and women are mothers. They birth the babies, and so that's kind of a Capricornian way that, yeah. So that's a really good grand trine to just to kind of ground out all of this mental and fiery energy we've been having this week. And Venus will be approaching the end of her transit in Aries, approaching to Uranus. So next week, Venus conjoining Uranus that's going to bring a lot of surprises, just like Uranus did with Mercury. But it'll be much more personal, of our inner nature, our values. So that's something to talk about next week. Yeah, don't see so much else on this day. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. I hope you enjoy the week. And yeah, tune into there's a lot of ego energy and how our ego um, is developed and expressed, and we can change our ego at any time. And when we see the patterns of it and the reactions, we can always respond. So Mars and Gemini, opposing Jupiter, it's a great way to look for higher purpose and to see life as a game where we can become like a player to create our own dream. And the dreams can come true, but we have to do the work. The sextile of Neptune to Saturn, Pluto. And with Venus, I think that's going to be, it could be intense, but I think if we're really, really staying true to the core of our being and focusing on our heart, but also how we balance our ego desires with our heart, then there can be magic happens with the transformation to Pluto, and then to sense into our soul with the North Node in Cancer. And that's can be really beautiful when we've done all of our inner work and with commitment of Saturn, and it will pay off. Might not see it immediately, but there's a sense of satisfaction when you know you're doing the right thing, you follow your heart, and sensitivity to the world. It can bring a lot of pain, but if we're willing to bear the burden, I think it shows us how strong we are because we care to be the change we want to see in the world. It's one of my favorite quotes. So thanks so much for watching. This is kind of a slower tempo transit today, but I'm just kind of intuitively going with the flow of this, and I'm going to be really creative so that I can share as much more and talk more about asteroids, and because to me it's fascinating life when we see it, that we can not necessarily be the victim, but we can be the master of our life, of our destiny. Then we can see all the problems and turn them into challenges, which eventually can become amazing opportunities to make our dreams come true. So thanks so much for watching, and until next time, keep shining like the starseed that you are.